I'm Elizabeth Henson. Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where I'm helping creative dreamers and overachievers tackle business and life. After 6 years of being my own boss, I finally unraveled a tiny bit of what it takes to survive in this amazing world of being an overly creative entrepreneur. I'm your business bestie, here to help you with all those big ideas and to normalize some of the day-to-day struggles that we all share. My mission is simple. I want more women to make a living doing what they love and to feel good about themselves in the process. The best way to start? We can't do it alone. So welcome. I hope you'll hang out with me here where it's totally okay to be messy. Hey, you guys. All right. Welcome to episode 7. Today is so incredibly special because we're going to be talking with my sister-in-law, Rachel. Rachel is the owner of Rachel Bakes. She's also my husband, Mark's older sister, barely older, only by about 10 and a half months, I believe. And she started her caking business in our home when she lived with us while she was saving up to buy her own house. We had no idea it was going to turn into this huge, successful, crazy business here locally in Hampton Roads. And she fell in love with caking because she loved the decorating and the artwork of all the little detailed stuff that goes on cakes that is completely over my head. But I did get to taste all the cakes when she was living with us, and I'm not gonna lie, the timing was perfect because I was pregnant. It was like all these stars aligned for me to have endless amounts of cake in my house and Rachel launching her business, which was so incredibly exciting. What I love about Rachel is when she delivers cakes and she comes back and she tells me about it, all the different cakes, all the different clients, it's never just a cake and just a client. It's always a story. It's always these wonderful people and how they found her and why they chose the cake that they did and how much fun she had making it and the story of delivering it and people's expressions. And she always dives so much deeper than just a client and a product. She loves people. She loves their stories. She has the kindest heart. She's a little bit more shy than I am, but I like to force her to get out of her shell and talk to us because she always has really incredible things to say. And I just cannot wait to see where she goes now that she's full time. She's getting ready to do her second baking class here in Hampton Roads. I was lucky enough to go to the first one and capture some of the pictures. And it was so cool to see her in action and just to see how natural these cake movements are, which, you know, she was kind of fumbling her way when she lived with us. And now it's like, it's mesmerizing watching her spin the cake on the little thing. And I don't know, whatever cakers do. But anyways, let's get started. I can't wait for you guys to meet her. I love her so much. My sissy, here is Rachel. Okay, welcome, Rachel, my sissy-in-law. I'm so excited that you're here. And we were just giggling before I hit the record button. So I'm really excited for everybody to get to know you a little bit. So I already told them a little bit about you, but I want you to tell us the story in your version. How did you get started baking?
So it was kind of a thing that happened by accident. Or as I tell like a lot of people, I'm like, it just fell in my lap. It definitely all started when you and my brother bought me that KitchenAid mixer. And I was like so excited because I'm like, oh, I'm going to be able to whip icing and things like that. And after that, that was what, Christmas. And then I had a friend who bought me cake classes that we went to together for a birthday present. And from there, it kind of just like took off. I was taking every class that was offered at this cake store. And then before I knew it, I had like an Instagram page that I was just having for fun. And then I started to take orders slowly for money. And then more and more orders started to come in. And then when I bought my house, that's kind of when I decided that I was going to start a business. So actually, when I was looking for my house, one of the deciding factors was the size of the kitchen. That was a huge thing for me. And so it just like developed from that into, I guess, what is now a full-time business, a business that I never expected. I always thought that, I would just kind of do it on the side. It would kind of be fun. And then it turned into so much more, way more than I ever thought it would be.
I know, isn't that crazy? I feel like you grew really, really fast. And I remember you starting to bake, and I was like, oh, I knew she liked to bake, but I didn't know she really baked like this. And then before I knew it, you were like pumping out all these orders from our house. You were like getting the fancy little boxes. And I think we had you some stickers and stuff. And I was like, man, this is really happening. It's so exciting. And of course, I loved eating all the extras. That's always fun.
Yes, there were a ton of extras. Yeah, it was crazy how it happened because I think that I didn't even really know how much I liked it. Like I knew that I liked baking, and I'd kind of always had interest in, always thought like those baking and cake decorating shows were kind of cool, but I never knew it was a thing that you could like do at home. I just always thought people went to school for that type of stuff, and then they had developed these businesses. I did not know that I could have a food business from home.
Well, and I think something that a lot of people might not know about you when it comes to caking is how detail oriented you are and how it's an art form. Like you're so artistic. Like I would sit and watch you make those flowers when you were learning how to do the sugar flowers, and I'm like, "Oh my god, she's sitting there for hours like crafting out this perfect little flower." And I think that takes such a special person. I'm artistic, but I'm more of like an instant gratification than to sit there for hours and do stuff. Tell us a little bit about why you like that part of it.
I don't know. I guess because it is so detailed and it is something that it's like you might start out with a circle and you turn it into a flower. It's definitely something that I really like. The sugar flower aspect of it is probably my favorite, although I don't get to do them that often. They are very time consuming, which in turn translate into more expensive. But something about, I don't know, just sitting there and you're kind of like in the zone, and I could probably play music or something and just sit there and do it. It's just watching this thing develop from nothing into something is kind of really cool. And that's kind of how I feel about cakes too. It just starts as a cake and then you could carve it into something, you can ice it, you can cover it, you can decorate it and make it something completely different.
That's so cool. It's definitely an art. It's not one that I'm very skilled in, but that's so awesome. It's just been so fun. Like when the fact that I've seen you from the very beginning, it's just been such an awesome transition. Okay. So tell us a little bit about like your biggest challenges as far as like your mindset stuff and self-doubt. Like I remember when you lived with us and I was upstairs in my office working, I think you were on, you had a couple of days off or something and you were like, Liz, I can't believe like this is your life. Like you get to just sit here and work. And it seemed so unattainable for you at the time, but now look at where you are now. So tell us a little bit about what struggles you had when it comes to trying to view yourself as a full-time caker.
It's definitely what I would say a roller coaster. You kind of go back and forth and you're like, can I do this or can I do this? And it's just hard, when you've been, I don't want to say brainwashed or raised in an environment where it's like you go to school, you get a job, you work, Monday through Friday, and work provides everything. So it's definitely a different mindset and trying to get yourself out of that and out of a comfort zone that you have, knowing that, okay, if I go to this job and I work my hours, like I'm going to get this paycheck and it's always going to be there. As long as you don't, do something drastic to lose your job. So um, it was definitely getting out of that comfort zone and having the confidence to think that or believe that you can do more, that you can make it a full-time job. There are just like so many factors that come into play. Sometimes I look at my calendar and I'm like, it's kind of empty. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to make as much money as I thought I was. And then the next thing you know, within the next 2 weeks, my calendar is full. So it's it's definitely a roller coaster. Definitely when I was working full time and doing it, it got to the point where I think I was stretching myself thin, and it became more of a, why am I not doing this? So it was a transition, like I said, of getting myself out of that normal, like, this is what you're supposed to do mindset, and having that like guaranteed security blanket in a sense with a job.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know when I went to college, there was no, classes to be an entrepreneur or entrepreneur major by any means. And of course, I know your parents because I'm married to your brother. And, you have two parents that work very hard and they work very much in a corporate setting. So I know that was definitely difficult. So just kind of being exposed to other creatives, I think totally helped as well.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about like that decision to go full time because I know a bit. I saw a big change in you when you looked at me one day and you said, "Liz, like my bottom dollar's going up." So you were realizing that your consistent income from cakes was like starting to be a little bit more predictable. Like we're always going to have months of feast and famine when it comes to the wedding industry and being an entrepreneur, but you are seeing that that bottom line was staying the same or growing for like a couple months in a row. And I knew that moment that you were in because I had been there. I remember looking at my photography income and saying, oh my gosh, I have consistently made $1,000 or more every single month for X amount of months. That was like my second year in or third year in or something. And it was this real moment of like, oh my gosh, like I didn't just have 3 months that were really well and then I failed, and you had that same moment. And I remember saying, she's going to do it. And that was probably a good like year or two ago.
Yeah, it was probably last year, when I realized, especially when it was like a season I thought would be slow. So I think it was in January, and and I'm thinking my mindset is more focused on the wedding industry rather than just like baking as a whole, which, you get a lot of birthday cakes and baby shower cakes and things like that. But my main goal was to be more in the wedding industry. And then when I kind of looked back and saw that, oh my gosh, like I made $1,500 this month and it was January and this is what I thought would be a slow month. And then I look back again and I'm like, well, I went from 4 weddings in 1 year to like, I think 16 the next. And so then it was like, okay, I could probably really do this. Um, and so in my mind, I was like, well, I'm doing this part-time. So what would it be like if I did it full-time? Could I double? Could I triple? And that's the type of things you start to think about because you're not investing everything that you have into it. So you start to think, well, if I did, what would my outcome be? So it was that was definitely an aha moment, I guess. And from that time, I definitely had some going back and forth, once again with the comfort level of a job. You start to think, okay, well, I have the steady paycheck, I have health insurance. Like, what am I going to do if I quit my job? Am I still going to be able to afford these things? There's a lot of factors that I think you don't think about until it's right there knocking on your door, waiting for you to open it. So it it was it was a hard decision. I went back and forth a lot. And then as business started to pick up, and like I said before, I was like stretching myself kind of thin. And I just got to the point where I felt like I was suffering, my clients were suffering, my job was suffering, that wasn't fair to anyone anymore. And I originally picked the date of December 31st, 2018. And then I realized, okay, I could probably leave earlier. And so I made it June 30th. And that was it. I was like, that's the date. I'm going to quit. And I kind of didn't care how much money I had saved or not. Like, if I had reached the goal that I actually wanted, I was feeling like I was going to be okay, that I would be able to make this work. And so I did it. And I was like, if I need to drive Lyft or Amazon Flex or Uber Eats, something flexible like that, where it would bring in extra money for me just to make ends meet if I needed to, if I had slower months where I was short every now and then that's what I would do. Like I would make it work. I knew it was going to take definitely a lot of foundation work to get other things rolling in my business, but I never had the time before. And now I do. And that's made such a huge difference.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you talked about stretching yourself too thin because I remember, going through the same thing years ago, trying to decide if I should leave teaching and go full time. And I was actually reading about it. I was reading about when do you know it's the right time to quit your day job? And there's a lot to be said about the momentum. So you were stretching yourself thin because you had such a high demand, you had all this momentum in your business. And I really do think if there's anybody out there listening that wants to go full time, you have to listen to that because if you wait too long, like if you were saying your day job was suffering, your clients were suffering, what if you had waited another 6 months or a year and you had kind of gotten past that growth spurt, that momentum, you might not get to capitalize on it. Where I think timing is so important that if you feel that energy and you can see that your bottom line is raising, but you're also in this supply and demand stage, we have to jump on that. And sometimes, it's not going to be perfect with how much money we have saved. We're not going to have this perfect scenario to quit our day job. But if you feel that growth and that momentum, and then on top of that, like you said, you're asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, maybe I pick up a little side job that would at least be more conducive with my baking schedule. That's when like it really starts to happen. Like, because really, this is our happiness. So what is the worst that could happen? I was always like, well, I can go substitute teach. I can be a part-time teacher. Like we can always go back, but we'll never know unless we try, right?
Right, definitely. And that was kind of the mindset I had to put myself in, was that I can go get another job if this doesn't work out. But I think I owed it to myself to at least try. So that's
I
what I
know.
did.
I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit because I know like you do hang out on social media, you're on Instagram, but you don't do a lot of the like marketing efforts that I would say a lot of wedding industry people do because you've just been so lucky getting a lot of word of mouth referrals. What would you say is your secret to really making sure that clients come back again or that they're spreading the word about you?
I honestly have no idea. I think that I've really just gotten lucky. I think it definitely started with you when I first started, and you helped get my foot in the door, and you took photos for me that were good for social media. And I think that when I started doing styled shoots, that helped a lot. And it also gave me the opportunity to get product in people's mouths in a sense, like if you do a child shoot and you make a real cake, or I bring cupcakes along with the cake. Um, and then finding vendors that I could work with. Definitely, wedding planners have been key for me as far as like helping spread the word. They are the people. I mean, I feel like the cake is kind of one of the last things that gets scheduled when somebody's booking their wedding. It's like the venue, the wedding planner, and the photographer are the top three. And so the wedding, I've had people ask me and inquire about wedding cakes a month before their wedding, where they might have scheduled their venue, 12 months before that. So it's one of those things that I feel like relationships have helped. And with clients, you know, I have no idea. I feel like I have a good enough relationship with them. When I see them again, I can ask about their kids. I can talk to them about what's going on. Um, and that could also be key. Or they just, decided to get a cake one year and try me and they loved it. And so they keep coming back. But I definitely feel like there are relationships that are built, even if they're, every time this person orders a cake for me, but I can be like, oh my God, you had a baby. How's the baby? How old are they now? Things like that. And it's just a relationship that you kind of build with your clients. And it may not be a consistent relationship in the sense of you're talking to them every week, seeing what's going on with their family, but they know where to get the product from and they feel comfortable with you. And I think that definitely helps.
And that you're going to care. And I love that you talked about the beginning. I honestly hadn't even really thought about that until we just sat down and talk about it. But you did do so many styled shoots in the beginning, and you were really willing to do whatever it took to get the practice and get the word out. And this all goes back to the episode last week where I just talk about sharing the journey, and that it's so much more interesting if we just show up and tell people like, hey, we're new, we're practicing, how can I practice on you or get my cake in your hands, like you said. Like, that's something that a lot of people I think forget about. That's so important in the beginning. And that's what's going to make you memorable, is people are going to say, oh my gosh, I remember when Rachel first started and she did this amazing cake for our styled shoot and she went above and beyond. Whereas as we get more experienced, we have to actually start saying no to some of that stuff. But it's definitely this transition that I think makes people stand out in the beginning, when they are willing to, jump however high just to spread the word about what they're doing. And you definitely did that. So you may think that you haven't done much, but I think every little piece in that beginning stage where you were not concerned about the money, you were just concerned about practicing and getting better and getting your product out there.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a lot, but I guess it adds up over time.
Yeah, it really does. And now that you're doing this full time and you have to rely on the income, you're going to find yourself, if you get asked to do a styled shoot and you've already booked 3 weddings that weekend, you're going to find yourself saying no. But, of course, we still say yes when the time is appropriate. But that work in the beginning to set the foundation and build those relationships is so important.
Yes, I agree. Definitely.
Okay, so let's rewind to the Rachel that started baking in my kitchen. If you could tell her anything, what would you tell her?
This is such a hard question because um I feel like I'm just so new as far as going full time, but at this stage of the game, I wish I had done more foundation work. So things like, investing more in a better website, investing more in education and not just cake education, but business education. So, you don't think about sales taxes and like what's the difference between being a sole proprietor and an LLC, and then when do you make the transition? So things like that. And I wish I had put more time aside for practicing skills to become more of an artist and not just a cake decorator. Um, because I think that has led me to be in a style that I like it, but it's not like the true style I want to be in. So I'm now trying to venture into more different things, um, to challenge my decorating skills and see if there's something, more that I want to work with, I want to try out. So sometimes I wish I had spent a little bit more time practicing and testing out different techniques. But definitely the first two things that I said, investing more in the setup of my business and more in education of business and, just even in the education of cakes and cake decorating and things like that. I wish I had put more into it.
That's such good advice, because I think when we're just starting out, we think the opposite. And I know I was guilty of this too, although I did invest a lot. But um, people come to me for mentoring and they're just so afraid to invest in anything educational in the beginning, right? Because we're not seeing any money coming from our business. So why would we want to go spend a couple $100s or however much on something educational? But really, exactly what you're saying, I think is so true, that sometimes if we can invest and take that risk and invest in ourselves in the beginning, it's going to pay off so much more in the long run. I mean, and you still have great results. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, but you also had me. So imagine if you
Right.
were trying to cake and you didn't have me as another entrepreneur to even just brainstorm with. That could be very lonely. And I think people are so afraid to invest in themselves, when really that beginning time, you can like, double or triple your speed and once you improve and learn things if we invest in the beginning. Whereas now I invest in less things, but I'm making a bigger ticket investment, I guess. So there's the educational piece will always be there, but I do think when we're not relying on the income of our creative interest or venture, that we should be pouring it into ourselves, because investing in our business is just investing in ourselves, right? It's investing in our happiness. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. And I would have never thought that that really crossed your mind, because I do think you did a good job. I know you came to a lot of my stuff and you invested in a lot of stuff locally, but that's such a good point for anybody just starting out, that I think it's definitely worth it. Even if you have to stretch a little bit, if it's something that you're really passionate about and you really want to do, that investment is always going to come back.
Yeah. I definitely wish I had, especially the business side, because I feel like that's the side that nobody ever really talks about. It's, everybody's all about like, well, what can you do to expand your business? But what can you do to properly manage your business so that it keeps going? And that's stuff that I really wish I had learned more about before I had maybe even gotten a business license, just so I would have known, okay, this is how I pay my sales taxes, and um, this is what I should expect for, when you have to reapply for your business license and fill out the paperwork. I didn't know that I would have to put a dollar amount on like all my supplies and stuff like that I had. So I wish I had done yeah, a lot of more research on that. um
Yeah, I would say it's hard though. It's tricky and it's so different for every city. But I think, yeah, I agree, because that was really hard for me photography wise too, is trying to fumble through and figure all that out, because it is different. Even teaching was different in what I learned in Norfolk, and then I had to go teach in Virginia Beach. So there's so many different little moving parts. But hey, you never know. You can start teaching that in Virginia Beach. Okay, tell us something that you really love to see other creative business owners doing.
so right now I am really all about the good vibes. So I and not to speak badly about my previous job, because it was a very good job. They took care of me. It was not a bad company to work for, but there was like a lot of negative energy in the environment. And I never really knew that until I left and I was in a completely different environment. I had no idea, I guess, because it was just so everyday, day to day. And it's a job where I feel like a lot of people aren't really doing something that they're passionate about. It's something that they just, you need a job because you need income to pay your bills and so you can survive. So I feel like it was one of those type of environments. Um, and so now that I'm out in the entrepreneurial world, it's like I just love seeing all the positivity and like the support that other people and other business owners are giving everybody else. It's so different and it's such an exciting and good place to be in. So it's like, whether it's somebody just giving a shout out on social media or somebody's trying something new and people are jumping on board and supporting them. It's something that I love about this world, and I just want it to continue to go and to stay like this, and I'm hoping that that's what happens. And it's just I feel like there are so many business owners that, we are struggling with the confidence of what we're doing, especially if you're newer. There's more than one person who probably does what you do, and then learning how you stand out against someone else and things like that. And when there are people out there giving you support and commenting on your Instagram posts or sharing anything that you're doing, I think that's really cool. And I really, really love that.
Yes, you're speaking my language with that.
I
And
know.
I remember having that same moment when I was, I'd started my photography business and I was still teaching. And I remember walking through the halls one day, and everybody that I passed in the hall, is it Friday yet? Is it Friday yet? Is it Friday yet? And that was the culture. I mean, that was literally everybody's life. And I remember saying, I can't live like this. I can't live showing up on a Monday and already counting down to a Friday. Like that was such a huge, turning point for me, realizing that corporate America and being in that environment was just not for me. And that's probably one of the best things about being an entrepreneur. And I know you're just now getting into this groove, but is to go to bed at night and have no sense of dread for the next day. It's really cool.
Yes, I think I told you that was one of the big differences when I find I go to bed peacefully at night, and a lot of times I wake up in the mornings and like I don't need coffee and I feel good about the day. I don't dread like getting up. Whereas before when I worked a regular job, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go to work." And now it's like so different. It just feels so good.
Yeah. And I know you're going to get into your groove with your routines and stuff like that, but I've already seen like the stress just like fall off of you.
Yeah, it's been different. And I think part of it was because at the end there I was stretching myself like so thin that it was just like the stress level was magnified. And then, I'm trying to leave this job and train other people and still manage my cake business. So once I was out of that, it was just like a breath of fresh air.
Yay. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see where you are in another year or two.
I
Okay.
know, really
So
crazy.
you taught your first cake class. I was able to photograph that. I'll totally put some pictures in the show notes. And I know you've been brainstorming, teaching some more classes. Do you have anything that you're working on or anything exciting coming up that you want to share?
I actually have another class scheduled in Newport News in August. I don't know if anybody knows the Anders Rough Workshop or AR Workshop out there, but we're going to do a mermaid cake. So it's another theme cake. I think after I do this class, I'll probably have some more feelings about, am I going to start teaching like the basics and things like that. But as of right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm hopefully going to branch out into New York this summer. I have a venue that I've been in contact with there, so there are definitely some things happening, but it's a process.
Oh, that's so awesome. Okay, well, we'll definitely put all that stuff in the show notes and tell people how they can find you.
So the best place to find me is Instagram. That is like my main place that I hang out, and where I post most of my stuff. I do the Facebook sharing, so when I post stuff on Instagram, it posts to my Facebook. But I'm a lot more active on Instagram, and also my Facebook. So my Instagram is rachel.bakes, and my Facebook is just Rachel Bakes. In both of those places, you can find the links to my website and my email so that you can contact me.
Yay, I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much for being here. I was like, I think people will enjoy this because you're my family and you just went full time. It was like perfect timing. So,
It really
um,
was.
yeah, so thanks for being here
You're
and I'm
welcome.
excited. I'll be
Thanks for
seeing you
having
later
me.
today, probably.
Probably.
All right, bye, girl.
Bye.
All right, you guys, I hope that Rachel's story was able to inspire one or two of you out there that might be thinking about taking that creative passion or hobby of yours and turning it into something bigger or whatever you want it to look like. Just knowing that you can put yourself out there and grow that talent, that passion, and turn it into a business. Whatever it is that you want to do, I hope that encourages you to take the leap and do it because I know that ever since Rachel has gone full time, her happiness and her joy could fill a room. The fact that she has done this. And I remember what that was like. Okay, I have a special shout out today. You know, I like to pluck some members from our community and give them some love here on the podcast. So today I want to tell you about Sophie from Salt Hippie, salthippie.com. Salt Hippie is an online shop that specializes in modern seaside bohemian goods. I met Sophie through a mutual friend, Amanda Hedgepeth, and we actually have never met in person. But Sophie gives me hope that we can still make actual connections with people online. We met on Instagram, and I feel like if I was to finally meet her in person, I would be able to hug her neck so tight, We have just jumped into supporting one another. She really pays attention to what I'm doing. She listens to the podcast and she gives us shout outs on Instagram. And I have had other people contact me through Instagram saying that they found me through Sophie. And I just think that she's wonderful and positive and real, and her work is so beautiful. You can find it at salthippie.com. And I hope that you'll go check her out. I hope that you'll give her a follow on social media. We'll put all of her information in the show notes. And Sophie, I know you're probably going to listen to this at some point, so thank you for being such a cheerleader for the Messy Success podcast, for coming to my imperfect blogging workshop a while back. I'll link that in the show notes as well, because I know it really helped you. And just for always coming back and telling me what you learned or what you valued, and for just being a part of my community. I'm so grateful that you found me through Amanda, and I'm so grateful to follow your journey as well. It gives me all the seaside inspiration. The colors are always so beautiful. I'm going to have to get some of that stuff in my home as soon as possible. There's a lot of stuff I need to do for my home, but we'll talk about that another day. But thank you guys so much for being here at the Messy Success Podcast. Don't forget, you can always go to elizabethhensonphotos.com/podcast, and you can join us in the Messy Squad, where we have some behind the scenes conversations. So I hope you'll come join us and come hang out. And as always, thank you for being here. If you want to see all the different ways you can work with me, you can go to elizabethhensonphotos.com/education. And I actually want to encourage you guys to shout out someone today. Don't forget that 5 minutes of effort can change somebody's day. How cool is it that we have the power to change someone's day just by giving them a little bit extra love on social media, telling somebody else about their business or what it is they do, or connecting to people. I know that Amanda Hedgebeth has certainly made my day by connecting me with Sophie. All right, guys, have a great day.